Why, hello, you amazing, beautiful people, and welcome back to another reaction video. A while ago, we checked out a few Oversimplified videos, and I've actually been getting a lot of requests to go back and check out more videos from that channel. They're absolutely amazing, so please, if you're not subscribed to them, go check them out. Link to the Oversimplified channel and the videos we're reacting to today are in that description. Go show them all the love in the world. They're the ones who make these videos. They deserve all the credit. So, I'm going to stop talking. This is the one that's been recommended. There is part 1 and part 2. We're going to check both parts out today, and that is World War I. Also, if you've got any more recommendations, put them down below. Let me know what you'd like to see reactions to. And let's jump into my first ever reaction to World War I Oversimplified.
The world of 1914, a time of modern technology, culture, and fashion. Truly the height of civilization. Let's have a war. Everyone knew a big war was coming. France wanted some stuff back that Germany had taken from it. Germany wanted to take more of everyone's stuff, and they were building a big sexy navy that was making the British uncomfortable. These two empires thought they were really cool, but lots of different people who lived there didn't.
Wait, who was that? Those two have a that pitch is hilarious. Stupid sexy navy.
Uncomfortable. These two empires thought they were really cool, but lots of different people who lived there didn't think it was so cool. And some of them had even been declaring independence with help from Russia. Everyone was talking about each other behind each other's backs, throwing the fact that military technology had come a long way since the last major war, and suddenly everyone was pretty eager to beat each other up. In this area of Austria-Hungary live some Serbs and Bosnians who hated living in Austria-Hungary. So the Austro-Hungarian Archduke Franz Ferdinand goes there for a nice drive in an open-top car with his car's route published in advance. And that went just about as well as you'd expect. Some assassins were waiting for him along
the assassination story of Archduke Franz Ferdinand is so random because it's like just sheer dumb luck. Because they literally failed the assassination attempts, and then the person who like had already left, like about the team, just happened to come across him. It's such an insane story. It is just like, and that changed the whole fabric of this planet's existence. A simple freaking random coincidence. It's insane.
The way and threw bombs at his car, but they missed and blew up some officers behind him instead. So the Archduke goes into hiding, leaves Sarajevo, and the whole war never happens. Except no,
Except no.
Archduke doesn't leave, but instead goes back out in the open-top car to visit the injured officers in hospital. The driver takes a wrong turn and by sheer coincidence gets stuck beside one of the failed assassins, who shoots him. Austria-Hungary is understandably pissed about all this.
It's crazy.
And they think the Serbian government had something to do with it, which they might have. So they go to their ally Germany and say, hey Germany, we're going to declare war on Serbia. And Germany is all for that. So Austria-Hungary send a big list of impossible demands to Serbia, and when Serbia refuses, they declare war.
And here we go.
Austria-Hungary and Germany are friends, and Serbia is protected by Russia, who's friends with France, so they'll declare war on each other. Montenegro joins in too. France and Britain also have a kind of alliance, so when France says, hey Britain, you got my back, Britain is like, maybe. And then they decide to stay out of it, which is great for Germany, because Germany has a plan. They know that Russia is so big and clumsy that it will take them a while to get ready for war.
It's true.
So with this guy in charge, Germany will send all its troops into France at lightning speed while Russia's getting ready, defeat France, then move all the troops to Russia and defeat Russia, and then we all speak German and eat Pfefferpottast every day. Just one.
What the fuck was that? what was that food?
Defeat Russia, and then we all speak German and eat Pfefferpottast.
What am I looking at? That looks like gherkins, some meat, sliced beetroot, and like creme fraiche or something. You know what? It doesn't look awful. I'm not a huge fan of beetroot though. That's the only problem.
Pottast every day. Just one problem. France has loads of forts and defenses along its German border.
Classic, yeah.
And Germany can't waste any time fighting them, so Germany decides to go around them.
Okay.
Through Belgium.
Oh,
Belgium is neutral, but Germany wants to march 750,000 troops through it to get around France's defenses. They're hoping Belgium will just kind of sit down and shut up, but they don't. They fight back, and they're pretty good too, so they slow the Germans down. What's worse is that Britain shows up, and they're pretty pissed that Germany's invading neutral countries.
Yeah, naughty.
So now Britain declares war on Germany.
That's naughty.
So Germany push on through Belgium and commit some atrocities along the way. They also wear spikes and sometimes skulls on their uniform.
No,
so if you're trying to not look like the bad guys.
I don't know if I can show that image. I'm pausing here for future me who's editing this right now. Future me sitting in the same chair but editing this. to just blur it. I'm gonna play it safe. Those were some nipples. I'm gonna put like a little bar over that. That was some nipplage. If you want to see the unblurred version, go check out Oversimplified's channel. There you go. You want to see some boobs? Original video in the link in description.
Good job. The Allies have a propaganda extravaganza, and this starts having an influence around the world, notably in America. The US President Woodrow Wilson sees himself as a bit of a Jesus figure, and spends most of the war trying to get everyone to just hug it out. But there's also a large population of ethnic Germans living in the United States, and when the war first broke out, they were like, yay Germany! But now that they're committing atrocities in Belgium, they're less enthusiastic. Let's play Spot the French Soldier.
Is that him?
Did you see him? Easy, right?
Okay.
He's wearing a bright blue uniform with red trousers. And do you know who else spotted him easily too? The Germans. So when the French were slowly marching in columns through the countryside, the Germans easily tore them to shreds with their giant guns. All the nations involved in this war went in with an old school war mentality.
It's weird how Oversimplified is done in like quite a fun nature, but the topic of the video is dark as anything. It's so random to be like laughing at something that's so dark. So there's like, you know, just saying, it's the way that it's presented.
And all of them had to update their uniforms and tactics a lot during the Great War. Because this war was going to be like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Russia's ready for war, and way earlier than expected. Hey Austria-Hungary, can you get on top of that? Oh yeah, sure, we've got this. Nope. So Germany has to send some troops back to the east to defend against the Russians. The chief of staff of the Austro-Hungarian army is this guy, and although he is handsome, he turns out not to be the best military strategist.
But he's so handsome!
Austria-Hungary constantly ignores Germany's advice, and then comes running back to Germany whenever they get in trouble. Austria-Hungary even gets its ass kicked by tiny Serbia, who repels all their invasion attempts at the start of the war. It's better news for Germany in the north, though, where they almost completely wipe out the Russian Second Army.
Wait, so Serbia this entire time, which is literally how all of this started, haven't even been invaded? So Serbia maybe caused everything, and then just sat there and were like, like, it's so easy. It's also weird. Is there more to this than I haven't like seen? Because technically, so Serbia, what was it? The Red Hand Gang, was that the name of it? So, but it said maybe Serbia had something to do with it. Maybe, I don't know if that's proven. Whatever, right? Let's say hypothetically Serbia had something to do with it, and they sent assassins to take out the Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, and then Austria, in retaliation to that assassination, invades Serbia, and then the whole world goes to war with them. I'm just saying, like, is morally interesting there.
Back on the Western Front, the Germans continue advancing and are in sight of Paris. At this point, anyone would be forgiven for thinking the Germans were going to get that quick victory after all, but then things start to go wrong. The French commander-in-chief knew something had to be done, and he ordered his armies to stop retreating. In the resulting battle, a gap opened up in the German lines. If a gap opens up, the enemy can use it to flank you from the side and behind, so the German armies have to retreat. The Allies launch a counterattack, so the Germans dig into defensive positions. The Allies do the same. Then both sides move north, trying to outflank each other along the way. When they reach the sea, they're in a stalemate with trench systems running the whole way from the coast to Switzerland. The beginning of trench warfare on the Western Front.
Yeah.
Here's how trench warfare works.
Trench warfare,
two opposing lines of trenches with no man's land in between. One side would pummel the other with hundreds of thousands of artillery shells, sometimes for days at a time. This had a huge psychological effect on the soldiers, leaving many shell-shocked. Then, the attacking troops would leave their trenches and rush across no man's land, a muddy wet mass of shell craters and barbed wire. The defending trench would unleash machine gun fire on the attackers, inflicting thousands of casualties. The attackers would send wave after wave until either they gave up or the opposing trench was finally overrun. There would be months of fighting and the deaths of thousands in order to gain a few meters or kilometers of land. Living in the trenches was hard work too. Corpses...
It's so fucked up. There's a lot of movies around the trench warfare, and trench warfare is horrific. Because there's even a famous book, I can't remember what it's called, but it depictates trench warfare, and you would literally just be told to go. That is it. You're there, line of soldiers, alright, up you go. And that's it. And you just climb up, completely fucking exposed, and just run. And off you go. There's a bunch of really good movies on this and really good books as well. There's the one about the Australian soldiers who joined the war as well. It was about track runner and stuff. It's just horrible. It's just horrible. And do you know what else? If the soldiers refuse to get up and run towards a line of guns, they would be killed by their own officers for being cowards. So horrible.
Mud that could swallow you whole, pools of poisonous water, rats, disease, the smell. It's insane that millions of soldiers put up with these conditions, and commanders ordered them to do so for years.
Yeah. Part 2. Alright, well, let's just jump straight into part 2, shall we? It's so like, it's so messed up. It's so messed up. World War One is one of, I find, the most fascinating wars. And even though World War Two is the one that seems to have Hollywood's attention and eyes, World War One I find more so fascinating because of the darkness around it and the willingness of soldiers to conduct suicidal missions. It's just insane. There was never like warfare seen like that before, and the idea of like, let's just bomb them for ages and then you guys run. And both sides doing this as well. And these are just people. Literally people like you and me. It's crazy. Yeah. It is nuts. I wonder, it's interesting. World War One is interesting. How many, was there anything going on in other countries and other regions as well? Because it definitely wasn't as like spread out as World War Two.
With both sides stuck in a hard stalemate, they knew this war wasn't going to be about taking territory, but about simply wearing each other down. The Allies had plenty.
Make sure the volume's all good. It seems like it's a little bit quieter there. There we go.
Plenty of men to expend from its overseas dominions.
There we go.
And the British also started a naval blockade, so Germany couldn't import stuff, like food. Neither side really wanted a long, grueling war, though, so they both thought of ways to break the deadlock on the Western Front. Idea number 1, new frontiers. When the war first broke out, Australia was quick to take German New Guinea. The Allies also quickly jumped on Germany's colonies in Africa, and particularly in German East Africa, locals were enlisted as soldiers and carriers by both sides, leading to a tragic loss of life for the native Africans. Some new combatants entered the war as well. The Allies' new friends were Italy and Japan.
This is literally what I just said as well. I was like, how like, for like a world war, the whole world has to go to war. That's kind of the point, right? And I was like, there's lots of, obviously, continents that don't seem to be involved in this, and here we go, we're getting those answers now. The new frontiers.
Japan was busy building itself an empire, so it was more than happy to take away German islands and colonies in East Asia. Italy actually had an alliance with Germany and Austria-Hungary before the war, but after some tense relations, and then the Allies promising to give them some of Austria-Hungary's stuff, they switched sides.
Clat,
Italy
what are you doing, Italy?
In the mountains here, but like everyone else, they were stuck in stalemate for most of the war.
Saying funny is the wrong word, but yeah, Italy just literally switching sides like that when Italy obviously played a completely different part in World War II. It's interesting when you learn like the folds of history here.
The Central Powers' new friend was a struggling empire in the Middle East. The Ottomans... The Ottoman were divided on whether to actually join the war or not, since they had been exhausted by the recent Balkan Wars. Some of the politicians who did want to join went off on their own and fired some shells at Russia, and then came back and said, whoops, looks like we're at war now. The Ottoman entry into the war was of particular concern to the British, since the Middle East was full of oil, and Britain wanted all of that oil. First, the Ottomans tried to attack Russia in the Caucasus Mountains, but they weren't prepared for the cold, and many of them froze to death. Then they crossed miles of desert to take the Suez Canal from the British, but that failed too. Then the Allies tried to take the Dardanelles at Gallipoli in a long and hard trench warfare campaign, but that also failed. The Ottomans blamed their initial losses on the ethnic Armenians living within Ottoman territory, and the resulting Armenian genocide led to the deaths of 1.5 million people. Then the Germans sent spies into
Jesus fucking Christ! My word! My word! I had no idea. Man, it truly is just insane, isn't it? Do you know, it's insane that this happened just over, what, 100 years ago? It's insane. I always get confused if World War One was 1913 to 1917 or 1914 to 1918. It's nuts. The same with World War Two being 1939 to 1945. These weren't that long ago. And like this, it's just like, it's nuts that like this kind of warfare wasn't that long ago.
Afghanistan to try to convince the Arab tribes there to rise up in jihad against the British and attack India. But that plan failed, partly because the spies got bored, brewed their own alcohol, and got drunk, which is a bad thing to do in Afghanistan. All these new frontiers hadn't done much to change the war. Aware that the Allies had more men and supplies than them, the Germans knew they had to do something to break the stalemate. Before the war, there was a big conference that set out the rules of modern warfare. No chemical weapons, no killing civilians. Basically, don't be jerks. The Germans held a meeting and decided to be jerks. Zeppelin air raids commenced over British cities. They also started attacking the Allied trenches with chlorine gas, and they used submarines to sink civilian ships.
Yeah.
One such civilian ship was the Lusitania, which had 159 Americans on board when it was sunk, further swaying US opinion against the Germans. Not to be completely unfair to the...
What was that?
Sunk. Further swaying...
Yay, Germany, Germany, please. Someone's about to get liberated. Someone's about to get liberated. America. My word. My word. I thought the Geneva Convention was signed after World War One. Unless they're talking about a different sort of agreement of like rules and that sort of thing. Yeah, my word. There's so much here I didn't know, and because everything is like it's funny because my ideas of World War One is simplified, and oversimplified is more complicated than the simplified version in my head.
US opinion against the Germans. Not to be completely unfair to the Germans, the Allies also engaged in chemical warfare soon after, and they had been hiding anti-submarine weapons on their civilian ships, which let the Germans justify their attacks. Meanwhile, Austria-Hungary still hadn't dealt with Serbia, so the Central Powers enlisted some help. Bulgaria wished it was bigger and was still bitter about losing the Second Balkan War. The Central Powers promised to make all of Bulgaria's wildest dreams come true if they helped.
There you go, Bulgaria.
And together they knocked out Serbia. The Serbian troops retreated through Albania, which was neutral but had some ties to Austria-Hungary. So Austria-Hungary entered Albania in a friendly invasion to chase down the Serbians, many of whom escaped by sea. It's 1916, and a lot is happening. As if they didn't have enough enemies already, Germany added one more to the list. Portugal had been getting a bit chummy with the Allies behind the scenes, and Germany didn't like that one bit. Around the same time, the only sea battle of the war happened. Both sides had a new powerful class of battleships called dreadnoughts, but they were so expensive to build that neither side wanted to risk losing them in a battle, so they kept them in port, except for one time when they had a big fight and a bunch of them got damaged, so they didn't try that again. The UK started conscripting men to the army, so they had plenty of reserves, which is just as well because the Western Front was about to get brutal. The longest and one of the bloodiest battles of the war started when the Germans launched an attack around the French city of Verdun. The French defended it desperately, leading to hundreds of thousands of casualties. Under pressure, the French called on its allies to do...
It's fucking insane when they just throw these numbers out. Hundreds of thousands of casualties. It's just insane. There's so many people. It's nuts, man. All of this is nuts. All of this is nuts. The oversimplified videos are fantastic. They really are, because I feel like learning about history and like educating yourselves on these things, even if it's a simplified, watered down version of the historical events, is just very useful. Here in England, we have quite like our history is like very intricate and detailed in our school, so we learn about loads, and we learn history from an incredibly young age. It's like so important here in England, and it's not just British history, it's worldwide history. But even like that is something that I learned about when I was much younger, and even now it's like getting refreshers. That's why like I always have like citation needed information. But my word, man.
Something to draw the Germans' attention away. So the British started their own long and brutal fight, the Battle of the Somme, with 60,000 British casualties on just the first day. It was also here that the British first used one crazy brand new piece of sci-fi technology. The Russians had been getting pushed back further and further into their own territory, but in response...
So the British used their tanks, but still lost 60,000 soldiers. 60,000 British soldiers the first day.
To the French call for help, they began a huge offensive, and did really well until they ran out of supplies and got stuck. Seeing how well the Russians had been doing, Romania decided now would be a great time to jump in and win the war. And then they got pounded. The Greeks were fighting amongst themselves about whether to join the war or not. The king liked the Central Powers, while the Prime Minister wanted to join the Allies. After a brief national schism, during which the country split into two, the king finally abdicated and the country reunited. With Allied help, they began a new offensive.
Oh.
In the Middle East, Russia was pushing into Ottoman territory from the north. The British had also made a landing in Mesopotamia to protect Persia's oil fields, and they had also sent a small army up the Tigris River to try to take Baghdad, but the army got sieged in the town of Kut along the way, and eventually surrendered. A new offensive was launched from the south with all-out desert warfare. The offensive was aided by one famous British officer, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, who helped lead the Arab tribes in a revolt that wreaked havoc on the Ottoman supply lines.
I didn't know that's where that came from. Lawrence of Arabia came from here? What the fuck? I had no idea about that. This is where that came from? This is insane.
Lawrence of Arabia, who helped lead the Arab tribes in a revolt that wreaked havoc on the Ottoman supply lines. By the time 1917...
Look at this. You literally had all this stuff from Germany and Austria, which makes you realize how much of Europe actually their landmass occupied at this stage. Because Germany and Austria look like they take over most of Europe, which is nuts, like that red marker on the map there. Which also would make sense is as to how they're able to hold up lines like this, which stretch over so many miles, when you would assume they don't have the manpower to do so. Also, meanwhile, up north, the Scandinavian countries, they're just chilling. And then, yeah, and then obviously you have France. I didn't realize Italy and... Well, I didn't know Italy in World War One sided with the Allies. That is completely new information for me. I didn't know Greece sided with the Allies and even, like, started a thing. I didn't know Portugal. Spain, what, did they stay out of World War One? I didn't even know that either. There's so many things about here I didn't know. I didn't know about the Ottoman Empire invasions with Russia. I didn't know about any of this. Lawrence of Arabia going... Well, that story was through the south of the Ottoman Empire at the time. I knew none of this. This is incredible information.
Rolled around, everyone was exhausted. There were mutinies in the French army, the German populace was starving, and the war had drained all of Russia's supplies. There was no clear winner, and it was still anyone's war. The only question now was, who was going to break first? And the answer was Russia. Tired of not eating, and mad that a crazy magic homeless guy was calling some of the shots.
Oh yeah, the crazy magic homeless guy Rasputin. The story of Rasputin and what story was it in Russia about the trains? Does anyone know that story? Where it was like one of the Tsar of Russia at the time, he went on a train to like a battlefront with war. It might have been during World War One. I don't know if this was happening in World War One or after World War One. But he went on a train to rise to boost the morale of soldiers on the front lines. And then his family, is it the story of Anastasia? His family, while he was away, were like I can't remember if they were killed, but they were like their house was taken, they were taken hostage, and all sorts of stuff. It's an insane story. The stories of like the history of Russia is like so brutal.
There was an uprising in Petrograd, complete with riots and strikes. The riots turned into a full-scale revolution, and a new government overthrew the Tsar. Then a few months later, the Bolsheviks overthrew the new government.
When he said the new government overthrew the Tsar, I think that's the story I'm talking about, the one I just mentioned.
And they pulled Russia out of the war. This was great news for Germany, who now only had to focus on the Western Front. But there was still one problem. The Bolsheviks overthrew the new government.
Okay.
And they pulled Russia out of the war. This was great news for Germany, who now only had to focus on the Western Front. But there was still one problem. The pesky United States of America was looking increasingly like it was going to join the war. America had been selling supplies to the Allies throughout the war and was getting super rich off the back of it, meaning it was in fantastic shape and was dangerous to the Germans.
Yeah, the story of America were fantastically helpful in both World War One and World War Two, but America with would sell stuff. They weren't like, so basically what I'm trying to say is America also contributed to most of the debt that was acquired in Europe based off the sellings of stuff.
So Germany sent a telegram to Mexico
very
saying,
helpful,
wouldn't it be crazy
but also
cool
bankrupt
if
so
you
many
guys attacked
countries.
America? But the British intercepted the message, showed it to the Americans, and that was the final straw. American troops began shipping out to Europe.
Wait, what? Hold on, go back here.
Mexico saying, wouldn't it be crazy cool if you guys attacked America? But the British intercepted the message, showed it to the Americans, and that was the final straw. American troops began shipping out to Europe. This was terrible.
I didn't know that. I didn't
Germany,
know that at all.
And they knew their only hope now was to force France and the UK to surrender before the fresh American troops arrived. It was now or never, so they started one final attack.
Why would they? Why would they surrender when they know a big group of reinforcements is on their way?
They converged their troops and hit hard at the Somme and pushed the Allies back. They hit a second time further north, then again and again. With each hit, the Germans were spending more and more resources, while the Allies were getting better and better at repelling their attacks. By the fifth punch, the Allies held the line and even pushed back. With American troops now arriving in larger numbers, the Allies launched a counterattack, and that was it. The Central Powers were being pushed back on all fronts. Bulgaria collapsed first, followed by the Ottoman Empire, then Austria-Hungary, and finally on November 11th, 1918, at 11 o'clock, Germany surrendered. At the peace treaty, Germany was forced to reduce its military, accept war guilt, and pay the bill for the war. After indescribable suffering and millions dead, the world learnt its lesson and never had such an awful war again. For about 20 years.
What? What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm sure that was it. I'm sure that was it, right? That was it. And it was just happiness forever and ever and ever. And then there was a princess, and she lived in a castle, and one day a knight came and rescued the princess. That's a true story, right? No? What do you mean I'm crazy? You're crazy. Oversimplified, you are a damn master when it comes to creating these videos. It really has to be said. The freaking content that Oversimplified does is just amazing. It really is. It really bloody well is. I'm just throwing it out there. It It is so good. I have to finish up here because my other camera died, so it's going to be a random cut, and then we're going to come over to this camera. So yeah, if you're wondering why, there you go, my camera died. Yeah, I really love the channel. I love how it's done. I love how it allows us to have these like random snippets of knowledge that we can be at like a gathering or something and can just be like, just vomit out some knowledge that we have now accumulated and just be like, yeah, so the way I know this. And it's sort of like citation needed, more information needed. No, I can't go into any more detail because I don't know. But it's brilliantly done in a way that makes it so incredibly easily to consume, like so consumable, this like knowledge. I absolutely love the channel. I think the channel is incredible. So please make sure you go support them. Check out the original video, link in the description. And yeah, if you guys really enjoyed it and you support this video and you like and subscribe and stuff, maybe we'll come back and check out World War II. I'd really love to check out a lot more of the oversimplified stuff. And whenever I do a reaction to them, you guys always seem to really enjoy it. I am really enjoying these random reactions at the moment, checking out historical events or tragedies and all sorts of stuff. So if there are anything like that you would like me to react to, anything that I haven't done yet, put them down below in that comment section. But yeah, there's so much in this video particularly I didn't know. And I feel like my knowledge of World War II is a little bit better. So maybe if we come back and do World War II, I'll know a little bit more, but who knows? Because I got tripped up at least on 50% of the stuff in this video, which is good. It's good. I want to learn more. I want to know more. So the fact that I don't know as much as I thought I did is great. And it's amazing how Oversimplified does, like, talks about all these stories that are quite tragic in a way that makes it weirdly humorous, but not so much that it feels disrespectful. It's such a weird balancing act that they just nail. And yeah, I had no idea about the stuff of like America's lateness to the war, and obviously they were involved in the war, but not physically, it was just financially. And then Italy, I had no idea about that. I didn't realize what Japan was doing as well. I didn't realize Japan was part of the Allies and like the conquering over that side of the world. I didn't know Spain wasn't involved in World War I. Is that even true? I had no idea about that. All the Scandinavian countries, they just weren't involved at all. That I didn't know about. I knew World War I had a ton of African warfare as well, like on the countries in Africa. And obviously that being heavily influenced by both sides. I knew about that. And I feel like you could do an entire video just on the wars in Africa, because there was a lot as well. But yeah, brilliant video. I hope you guys enjoyed my reaction. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave the recommendations in that comment section. Please support this video and please support the original video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you'd like me to react to next. And as always, my friends, you will see me in the next video.